At the dawn of the 20th century, the roar of newfangled automobiles echoed across America while grand summer homes rose along Maine's rugged coast. Few figures bridged these worlds as dramatically as Ira Cobe, who made his fortune in the Gilded Age and became an influential player in early auto racing. Hi everyone, Ken here. Hit that subscribe button and let's explore this house. In 1866, Ira Cobe was born in Boston, attended Boston public schools, and earned a law degree from Boston University in the late 1880s. After a few years practicing, Cobe's career took a decisive turn westward. In 1892, the 26-year-old lawyer married Annie Watts, a young woman from Belfast, Maine. That same year, the couple relocated to booming Chicago, where Cobe seized the opportunities of a rapidly industrializing city. In Chicago, Cobe quickly proved to be more than just a lawyer. He co-founded the investment firm Cobe and McKinnon, which funneled East Coast capital into Midwestern infrastructure projects. This venture operated much like a modern venture capital firm, financing street railway and electric utilities at a time when cities were racing to build transit systems. Cobe's financial acumen and bold investments paid off. By the turn of the century, he was seated on the boards of several major transportation companies, including the Chicago City Railway Company, the Calumet and South Chicago Railway, and the Chicago Elevated Railroads. He even became chairman of the Chicago City Railway, overseeing streetcar networks that kept the metropolis moving. By his mid-30s, Cobe had grown both wealthy and well-connected. In the bustling society of Chicago's Gilded Age, Cobe and his wife Annie even built a mansion in the then fashionable Hyde Park neighborhood. We'll get back to the mansion soon, but it's worth noting first that Cobe was an automobile enthusiast at a time when cars were a thrilling new novelty. In the early 1900s, as the automobile industry took off, he became deeply involved in the motoring world. He served as president of the Chicago Automobile Club, an organization eager to promote car travel and racing. Cobe even sat on the commission for the famed Vanderbilt Cup races on Long Island, which were the first major road races in America. Watching those early contests, Cobe and his peers dreamed of bringing similar excitement to the Midwest open roads. In 1909, he turned that dream into reality by sponsoring a race of his own, the Cobe Trophy Race, often called the Cobe Cup. Conceived as a Western Vanderbilt, this race was the first long-distance automobile road race in the American heartland. Rather than use city streets, organizers chose a 23-mile course over the rural roads of northwestern Indiana, an area of rolling hills and small towns just across the Illinois border. The inaugural Cobe Trophy Race took place in June 1909 and made headlines as the first major auto race ever staged in Indiana. Anticipation was enormous. Promoters built grandstands and even constructed pedestrian bridges over the course, preparing for crowds rumored to exceed 100,000 spectators. The race itself was a grueling, two-day spectacle. On the first day, a smaller Indiana Cup event ran 10 laps for lighter cars, but the main attraction was the Cobe Trophy on day 2. 17 laps totaling nearly 400 miles on dusty country roads. Top automakers of the era, Apperson, Buick, Fiat, Knox, and others, sent their daredevil drivers to compete. When the dust settled about 8 hours after racing, the winner of the 1909 Cobe Trophy was none other than Louis Chevrolet, a Swiss-American driver who would soon co-found the Chevrolet Motor Company. By the following year, the Speedway had introduced its own marquee event, the Indianapolis 500, which effectively replaced the Cobe Trophy race. Though short-lived, Cobe's races were true precursors to the Indy 500, helping establish Indiana as a motorsports hub. Yet even as he balanced high-flying business deals and high-speed races, Cobe was planning something different back in Maine, a massive summer cottage for his wife. Each summer throughout the 1890s and 1900s, Ira and Annie Cobe returned to the tranquil village of Bayside in Northport, Maine, where Annie had grown up. In 1909, Cobe purchased the old hillside farm, a 100-acre tract atop a hill overlooking Bayside. On this commanding site above the water, he planned to build Oak Hall, a mansion worthy of his wealth and a place where Annie could be near her family each summer. Ground was broken for Oak Hall in 1912, with construction overseen by one of Chicago's most sought-after architects, Benjamin H. Marshall. Marshall, in partnership with Charles Fox, had designed Chicago landmarks like the Blackstone and Drake Hotels, as well as the couple's Chicago mansion, and was known for his lavish taste and society connections. For the Cobe summer home, Marshall created a palatial design in the Colonial Revival style, then popular for country estates. When Oak Hill was completed in 1914, it was one of the largest Colonial Revival houses in Maine. The mansion stands 2.5 stories tall, with brick walls and an imposing classical presence. Its long front and rear facades are lined with grand two-story colonnaded porticos, one with round columns and the other with square pillars reminiscent of a southern plantation or a stately Georgian manse. The southwest portico even features a rooftop balustrade forming a balcony, adding to the home's elegant silhouette against the sky. The interiors of Oak Hall were just as extravagant as its exterior. Stepping through the columned entrance, guests found themselves in a marble-floored hall of breathtaking scale. Dual sweeping staircases rose from this hall, curving up to meet a grand second-floor landing, a layout that was a trademark of Marshall's mansion designs. Sunlight gleamed off carved wooden door frames and plaster ceilings decorated with raised neoclassical motifs. Almost every room was finished in refined Colonial Revival fashion, except the library, which Cobe had paneled in rich mahogany and given a Jacobean-inspired carved plaster ceiling for a more scholarly air. In total, Oak Hall boasted 12 fireplaces, ensuring that even Maine's chilly seaside evenings could be met with a cozy blaze in any corner of the house. Fine art and statuary dotted the halls, as Cobe reportedly filled the mansion with over $500,000 worth of art, an immense sum at the time. Perhaps the most dramatic feature was the music room, where a custom-built two-story Aeolian pipe organ took center stage. This organ, essentially a colossal automated orchestra, could be played for live music or set to play on its own. When Oak Hall's construction was finished and the Cobes moved in during the summer of 1914, they wasted no time in showing off these wonders. On the very first weekend, they threw a lavish housewarming party with dancing on the marble portico, and the majestic pipe organ's music echoed so far across the water that it could reportedly be heard on the neighboring island. Landscape architecture was also an important part of the estate's design. Cobe hired Warren H. Manning, a noted landscape architect who had worked with Frederick Law Olmsted to design the grounds of Oak Hall. Manning embraced the property's natural trauma. Huge glacial boulders left on the hill were incorporated into stone walls and garden features, and the winding drive was laid out to showcase sweeping views of the bay and distant mountains. With Oak Hall complete, Ira and Annie Cobe established themselves as gracious hosts and benefactors in mid-coast Maine. Summers at Oak Hall were filled with garden parties, musicales, and charitable events. By the 1920s, Ira had somewhat scaled back his business activities, enjoying the fruits of his success. He remained a director of several companies and managed his investments, but he also indulged in art collecting and travel. Tragically, Annie Cobe's health began to decline in the late 1920s. She passed away in 1928 at the couple's winter residence, the Hotel Almanac in New York City. Annie's death at age 61 was a heavy blow to Ira after 36 years of marriage, and he was only able to hold on for a couple more years, joining her in 1931 at the age of 64. Cobe's will placed Oak Hall into a trust, instructing that it be sold and the proceeds used to fund various charitable organizations. Oak Hall stood silent for several years after Ira Cobe's death, its future uncertain. The once lively halls no longer rang with organ music and laughter. The mansion changed hands to the Pingree family, who enjoyed it for decades. Then in 1978, John and Jean Evans purchased Oak Hall with an eye for restoration. The Evans family undertook a comprehensive refurbishment of the aging mansion. They repaired and updated structural elements while being careful to maintain the home's historic character. The Evans also decreased the estate's acreage, selling off about half of the original 100 acres, but they lovingly rejuvenated the gardens that remained. Recognizing Oak Hall's significance, the Evans family worked with preservation specialists to have the mansion listed on the National Register of Historic Places, which was achieved in 1983. The house has since changed hands a couple more times, with each owner lovingly maintaining the estate as it ages graciously. Over more than a century, Oak Hall has been a constant on the Northport landscape, weathering changeovers in ownership, periods of emptiness and revival. Yet through it all, the house itself endures, largely unaltered in its architectural splendor. And with that, I'll turn it over to you. What did you think about Oak Hall? Let me know down below in the comments section. My goal for this year is to reach 1 million subscribers. If you are among the 1 to 2 million monthly viewers of this channel who are not subscribed, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button and let's reach this goal together. As always, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time on This House.